Hello, friends. My name is Zoe. My DJ name is Zoe from work, and I joined Selecthood 8 or 9 months ago. And before that, I had never played out in a bar or club or anything. I had played at home with a controller, but I'd never used a CDJ or I didn't even own a USB. And what I wanted to do is put together a kind of like a few part tutorial about going from almost nothing to being able to play comfortably in a bar or club, to kind of show how it doesn't have to be. I found it intimidating, but when you get used to it, it isn't as bad, and try and share some of my personal experiences, that how I've kind of navigated through it. This is for both people starting out from absolutely nothing, or maybe you've done a little bit and maybe this just gives you some like color in places that you weren't quite sure. If you go into the Discord for Selecthood, you can actually see 26th of February this year, I am saying, I've never used CDJs, and everyone's being really lovely and saying, oh, you should give it a go to Pirate, get a USB, go for it. Molly even said she'd use Tractor, which is what I've been used to at home, and then started using CDJs and then hasn't really looked back since. So it was kind of clear that I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to play out in a bar or a club, I'm going to have to do this at some point. So let's get started. What I wanted to do is start with the why. I'm not going to go into huge amounts of like technical reasons or huge amounts of detail about a lot of the software and hardware and things, because there are other tutorials for that. But I wanted to come from a place of, I was like, but why? Like what's going on here? Like, why is it like this? And try and make some sense of it for my own satisfaction, which maybe might help you. So, I'd never used Pioneer equipment before. I had heard of it. I knew it was supposedly good, but I didn't really understand what was going on with why everyone's using it. Fundamentally, this is how I kind of see it. This is a photograph of Universe in Ibiza. It used to be called Privilege, and it is, I think it held the title for largest club in the world. If not, it still does. Fundamentally, everything's just trickling down from that, right? This is the club standard. We've got some CDJ 3000s, and we've got a Pioneer mixer. And that's the standard. And, if you go, the bigger clubs in the world are trying to emulate that. The same sort of DJs, the maybe slightly smaller clubs in London, they're also going to try and do the same thing. Bars and emulating that as well. When maybe you get to play out first in a bar in London, the reason that you're using that same equipment is for the same reason that everyone else is using that same equipment. And that is probably the simplest way of understanding why it is like that. There are some more specific details that I got really interested in, and I'd love to just share with you now for a minute. When you have a controller, if you're playing at home and things like that, the controller is just that. It's a controller. It is controlling the software that is playing on your computer, on your laptop, or on an iPad. If you unplug the controller, the software still runs. So the controller itself is doing some audio things, because you can listen to the music, listen to the one track while another one, one deck, and have the other deck playing out and things like that, but it's not actually doing the mixing. The mixing is taking place on the software that you're using. Now, I've used Tractor. You may have used Serato, or you may have used Record Box. What was kind of strange to me was that if you've used Tractor or Serato, they are really rich with features that aren't available in rekordbox and aren't available on CDJs. And for me, it felt a little bit like I was going backwards, because when you first use a CDJ, you're just like, where is all of the features? It almost doesn't seem like it does that much. But the what you can't see is probably what's making up for it, and why, like, is what's going on. When you're mixing at home and you're playing out, maybe in parties and things like that, controllers are absolutely fine. The sound that is being produced is coming from the processor in the computer. It is a general purpose processor that has been programmed with software to emulate mixer. So if you've got two really, really big sounds and you're mixing them together, the software is going to do its best to emulate and understand and control and blend those waveforms together. But it's only going to be as good as the software that's running it. In a bar, or particularly in a club, everything kind of changes because the sound is so much bigger, and the demand, the pressure, the output that you need, the standards are much higher. I've got here a couple of examples of mixers, and I think one of the things that you concentrate on is just like, oh, CDJs are really important. CDJs are, like, oh, it's so much different and all the rest of it. I think what I didn't realize is actually the mixer is the thing that is doing a lot of the work, and it doesn't really look like it is, but actually it is probably the thing that matters almost more than where the music's coming from, in terms of like the technical, like, sound, like what sound is being pushed out of those speakers. It's the mixer that is responsible. And actually different mixers will have different sounds because of the way that they've been made and the way they've been designed. On the left here, I've got an Allen and Heath mixer, and they are mostly, and they're quite famous for it, analog. And on the right, I've got a Pioneer mixer, which is more typically digital. And I kind of want to explain like why, because it didn't make a lot of sense at the beginning, but I think I kind of get it now, and I kind of appreciate what's going on and what you can't see. So the Allen and Heath one is truly analog. When the inputs are coming in from the players, so a vinyl player or a CDJ or something similar, it's coming in as an analog signal, a waveform, just like an audio waveform, and it travels through the mixer as a waveform, and it is blended together with the other channels, and in an analog fashion. Now, if you open it up, it'll look very digital. It looks like a circuit board, but there isn't any microprocessors. So there's no digital interpretation of that sound and then converted. It is just a waveform hitting another waveform. And they're kind of quite impressive, which is why they're so expensive. And it means that if you have a vinyl player, and you have a stylus on the end of the vinyl player, and it is picking up a sound from a record, and it is going through a cable into this mixer, and then the mixer is blending it together and then sending it back out into an amplifier and then out of speakers. At no point has it ever passed through a digital processor. It is a truly analog sound. Now, some people would say that they can tell the difference, and that when you're in a bar, festival, club, whatever, that you can hear that sound. And they're probably right. You probably can if you listen for it. But it also has a feel to it that is different to a digital feel. And at the beginning, it's okay not to worry, and it's okay not to know. But later, at some point, hopefully in your career, you will start to lean into the understanding that and can enjoy it. And similarly with the digital one, actually, digital bad, right? Now, not necessarily. Like, it has its own processor, but what's different to the one that's on your computer's processor is a general purpose processor. It is good at everything. It's the same processor that you use to browse the web or make a video or watch YouTube or something. The processor in these is dedicated to mixing together two sounds, or four sounds, or more sounds. That's it. That's all it's designed to do. And so it is very, very good at it. And so digital processors are not to be poo-pooed. this will produce a very, very, very solid sound, more than you can out of a controller on a laptop or something like that. And the reason why I wanted to spend so much time talking about these mixes is because I didn't appreciate kind of what's going on and how much you will pick up from from using them and understanding them. And fundamentally, they're very similar to what you might be used to at home. Like, they have a fader, they have, treble, bass, highs. Like, it's not dissimilar, but I think in some senses I've kind of found myself going, but this isn't as good. For example, when you're using a lot of software, it has an auto gain. So when you load a track in, it will go through the track and it will find like the loudest point in the track, and then it will set the gain to that point. The mixers don't know what sound's coming in. They don't have that kind of relationship with the CDJs or a vinyl player. So you have to manually set the gain, which is called trim on a Pioneer. You have to set that yourself. So you have to remember to do it, and you have to keep an eye on it, and you have to make sure that you're not hitting the reds. It's almost more work, and yet somehow that's considered to be more professional. But it's that control and that flexibility that gives you the kind of the ability to be able to craft that sound and push out what you want people to be able to hear, and really finesse your experience and make an experience for people that are enjoying your music. What I wanted to drill into is some of the anxiety that I kind of had around a CDJ. You can go to Pirate Studios or those kind of places, and you can try them out. You might know somebody who happens to have one. But what's kind of funny is that actually, if you look at them side by side, so for example, this is a FLX4, and then on the right is CDJ 2000 Nexuses with a Pioneer mixer, DJ mixer. And what's funny is if you look at the layout, there's the loop here, play and cue, okay, great. The drive for the turntable, great. Speed, super. Fundamentally, they're not dissimilar, and they're both made by Pioneer, so they both have a very similar feel. I had never used this layout before because I've used other layouts. It wasn't too bad trying to make the jump over. Yes, everything's in a slightly different place. It's not too bad. I think the first couple of hours that I spent with one, I was like, it kind of makes sense. I'm not quite sure. And then suddenly something will go wrong and you'll be like, oh my God, there's so many tutorials and there's so much stuff out there. I'm not going to repeat it all. But the best thing I can recommend you do is to jump in and try it out. And there is a couple of places where it's very easy to sort of make a silly mistake, and I'm still making them now. Literally just a few days ago, I was trying out, I was getting ready to play out, and I thought that a CDJ was broken, but it was just because it was stuck in reverse, which is this button here, and I didn't realize, and so I was pressing the play button and it was just not working, and I was like, it's because it's at the beginning of the track and it was in reverse. These things will happen. It's okay. You get through it, and hopefully all the reasons that I've talked about will sort of make you go, oh, okay, I get it now. The biggest reason, most practical reason that I can give to everyone, myself, about why this is used and why it's better, and why it has that price tag, is this little slot up here, the USB slot, because the practicality of being able to turn up as a DJ with a USB, plug it in, have all your music, and then you can play. There's nothing else that can quite match that. And you could run this off of a generator in a club, in a festival, and it would work. That practicality outweighs almost everything else. And so yes, quality is better, the sound's better, it's more more practical in terms of maintenance. You can swap the parts out, you can get them repaired. There's so many reasons why this is the standard, but probably for me the biggest reason why you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense, was the practicality that you can just turn up, put your USB in, and off you go. And so having never used any of this before and having not even owned a USB, the next part that I wanted to go through is exactly that. Buying a USB, setting up and getting ready to play out and trying to learn like the very basics of how do I play out music in a bar on CDJs.